Why are you
Welcome
gay?
to Failure to Stop Breakdown.
Why are
It's
you gay?
Friday,
gay?
Friday,
Why
getting
are you
down on
gay?
Friday. Look, I'm embarrassed as
Why
well.
are you gay?
I don't know why I do it, but I do.
Why are you
Listen,
gay?
hurricane happening right now.
Why are you
Hurricane hell. If
gay?
I lose power, Josh
Why
is
are
going to
you
have
gay?
to take it away. But we had a super
Why are you
special
gay?
guest today, and I didn't want to ruin it
Why are you
by just
gay?
calling in sick for
Why
a
are you gay?
hurricane. So I braved the
Why are you gay?
storm, and I walked all the
Why
way
are you
out to the
gay?
studio, dodging
Why are you
limbs,
gay?
dodging branches, and here I
Why are you
am, and
gay?
here you are. Today's show
Why are you
brought to you
gay?
by ghostbed.com
Why are
forward
you
slash
gay?
wolfpack and
Why are you gay?
factormeals.com
Why are
forward
you
slash
gay?
wolfpack 50.
Why are
Today's
you gay?
case breakdown coming
Why
out
are
of
you
New
gay?
Jersey. It's coming out
Why
of
are
New
you gay?
Jersey, where an officer
What?
was involved in a very strange shooting. I always say, if you don't think it's going to happen, that's probably what's going to happen. And this is one of those cases that you probably could never war game in your head. You could not lay on your pillow at night and war game a scenario like this. And yet this officer Sal had to live through it. And we have his father here to walk us through the case breakdown. I'm really excited about it. So rain, shine, hurricane, tornado, no matter what, I'm here until God says I can't be. Take it away, Joshua.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Oh, guns up, giddy up. The live chats are growing. We got Teresa Flowbird in there, Christy, Armory Knight, Falconator. Falcon around and find out. Guys, thanks for being up in the chats. Intellectual Iconoclasm, Deadleg. Good to hear it. Bosco Autry. Bosco, are you alive? Are you swimming? Are you in a canoe? I hope that you're okay. I think you guys are taking probably more of the storm than we are over there in the Savannah land of Georgia or whatever part of Georgia. Listen, October 18th and 19th, Orlando, Florida. Join me and J. Darrell White, comedian Margaret, on the 18th at Tactical Brewing Company, along with Anti-Hero Podcast, Two Cops, One Donut, Donut Shop Podcast, other special guests. And then the 19th, the following day, the big giant Anti-Hero Shell Shock event. We got Eddie Gallagher. We got Kyle Rittenhouse. We got Conservative Anthony. We've got a whole bunch more. We've got New York's Finest Unfiltered. Those guys are going to be out there. So the comedy show on the 18th, I believe, is $15 for your ticket. That gets you in the door. Saturday is free. All the proceeds of the event go to PTSD. So we hope to see you guys all October 18th and 19th in Orlando, Florida. We are all staying at the Sheridan North Hotel. After party is at the Sheridan North Bar Friday night. So, and there'll probably be one Saturday night, I imagine, as well. You guys don't want to miss this. Head on down to Orlando. It has not been blown off the map. I actually talked to Tyler this morning. Orlando still stands as proudful as it ever was. All right. With all of that, let's get in today's case breakdown. Let me bring on our special guest. We have Drew from Philly. This case is very special to him because it involves his son. Now, listen, I'm a father of 5. And I don't wish this upon any of my children. It must be the scariest thing. So let me just start, Drew, with just asking right off the bat. I just want to get right into it. What was it like when you got the phone call? I don't want to go into the case yet. I don't want to get in the weeds. I'm going to Tarantino this for a minute. Are you familiar with Quentin Tarantino?
A little bit.
All right, I'm going to Quentin Tarantino it. I just want to go with just the phone call, no spoiler alerts, and then I'm going to rewind from there. What was it like when you got the phone call? What was your first thoughts when you got that call?
When I first got the call, I wanted to know if my son was dead or alive. That's what my first instinct was. Is he alive or is he dead?
And then, so when you got the call, was it from a sergeant, I'd imagine, or captain?
My wife got the call and it kept calling. So, and on my phone, if you're not in my, my file, it's not going to ring. It just goes right to voicemail. So she was getting the phone call and she got the call first and people were calling me. So
that's a hard call to take because it's not going to be good. You know what I mean? You know that they're not calling you to say your son just won a trip to Disney. So, I mean, did you have like that gut feeling? Did you feel like something was off? What was it like taking that call?
Yeah, it was terrible. And I want to know, is he dead or alive? And where is he? And he said he's okay. He's en route to the hospital. And,
Yeah.
that's where it was. So we headed over to the hospital.
Yeah. So, now you're over in Philly. You look very dapper. I told you I was going to Tarantino this, so I'm going to rewind a little bit. You got the slick hair. 99.9% of our followership is listening. They don't see you, so I have to paint this picture for all of our audio listeners. Very Italian. Anybody ever said that? Were you in The Godfather? Were you in the movie The Godfather before I
could have been.
You could. You look like you're straight out of The Godfather. Slicked back hair, very Italian looking. Philly. It's you could be in a movie for sure. For sure. So you're in Philly. Your son's in New Jersey. Was your son born and raised in Philly or
South Philly? Born and raised South Philly. The better opportunity went over to Jersey to become a police officer. He was in the Mantua Township specials first, and then from there he went to Camden, New Jersey for 2 years, and then from there he went to Mantua Township. Had a better opportunity, went to Mantua.
And were you law enforcement as well?
I am. I'm an active Philadelphia Police SWAT unit.
Oh my gosh, you're still
36
active.
years.
Holy cow!
36 years. Yeah.
Holy cow! You didn't try to talk your kid out of it?
Hey, he's going to do. When he came out of the womb, he always wanted to be a police officer. And that's what he always wanted to be.
Dude, I'm dealing with it right now. My 11-year-old and my 9-year-old, they have brilliant skateboarding careers ahead of them. They're top of the game at their age, and they get interviewed in magazines and everything else. And they were actually in a magazine. They interviewed for a magazine last month, and the woman was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And he looked her dead in the eyes. He's like, "I want to be an airborne paratrooper." And I was like, "No, I thought I phrased you better than that. Like say pro skateboarder or, don't be like me where I can barely get out of bed. My knees and my back hurts all the time." But yeah, I think it is a calling, right? You know what I mean? I think there's just some people that are just called, from an early age to do this career. And I always say it's still a noble profession. I know that the current administrations and society kind of feels or makes us want to feel like it's not a noble profession anymore. But it is a noble profession.
Yeah, absolutely. We come from a family of law enforcement and military.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of the heritage of Italians in South Philly, Italians and Irish. I feel like that's pretty much kind of what every stereotypical Italian South Philly is. It's a boxer, a firefighter, or a cop. Is that accurate?
Yeah, pretty much, or a union worker.
A union worker. Are you Teamster or are you PBA?
My son's a union carpenter. My other son, both of my sons, one does air conditioning, refrigeration. My other son's a carpenter. They want nothing to do with police work whatsoever.
Yeah, good for them. So you got the Trump flag behind you, so I feel like I can ask you this right off the bat. Teamsters not endorsing Trump, but for the first time in the last 50 years, not endorsing a Democrat. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, that's what they tell you, but they're endorsing Trump. Trust me, because all the guys down here are. So
I don't know, like if 60%, which I love that. I love how the media says 59%. It's 59.6. Like just say 60%. If 60% of your Teamsters constituents vote in your in-house poll that you've been running for 6 months, then why not just endorse that candidate? It makes absolutely no sense to not endorse what 60% of your constituents want you to endorse. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, people have hurt feelings. It's different times, It
is different. But it's only one side has hurt feelings. You know what I mean? It's only one side of the political stage right now that has hurt feelings. And for the first time in history, it's the stage that really wants to go to war. Like when I saw, and this is because you're in Pennsylvania, but when I saw, what's his name, Josh Shapiro, when I saw him signing those bombs with that big fucking grin on his face, that motherfucker should have to go drop those things. You know what I mean? Like it makes me angry that's become a tradition. Like I understand a munitions soldier or an armorer or, a loader. I understand them signing the bombs, right? Because they're the ones that are physically putting this bomb on a plane to kill somebody with it. And mentally you have to deal with that. And so signing like fucking Happy Easter Hitler and all that, like I'm fine with that. But when you're not in the military and you're signing that munitions that's going to go and fucking kill somebody, like, I don't think you should be like, that shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't be a tradition or a custom that we use. Like, if you sign that fucking bomb, you should have to enlist and then be responsible for, or partly responsible for where it drops. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just didn't like it. I didn't like him signing the bomb. It offended me, especially with that jovial smile on his face. I don't know. I didn't like it. Are you Josh Shapiro fan?
I don't know Josh Shapiro at all. I don't know him. I'm a straight up Republican.
Yeah, he's the Democrat. What is he, like the mayor or the governor?
He's the governor.
The governor, yeah, the governor. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that this week or not, but they flew in what's his name from Ukraine, Zelensky in from Ukraine. They met in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and
war going on over there, and he flies in here.
Yeah, on your tax dollars too, on you and I's tax dollars. It is actually bonkers. But if you guys want more political news, you can follow my YouTube channel, FAWKES News, Fox News. And I update that about 2 to 3 times a day with 15 to 20 minute, sometimes less than 5-minute quick takes on the news, bringing you all the facts and all the receipts with less emotion and more facts to kind of thwart mainstream media, propaganda, big government media. So you can go over to FAWKES Fox News, hit that subscribe button and get all the political news you want. But let's go ahead and get into this case. So I'm going to go ahead and play. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and bring up the picture of Josh Shapiro. Josh. Yeah, there it is. You motherfuckers. God, I don't look, dude, as somebody that's been overseas, that's fought, this offends me. This offends the shit out of me. These fucking suit and ties have no claim to be signing those bombs. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, how out of touch, how off base are our politicians in this country right now? It's like we're living in the Hunger Games. It really is. You ever seen the Hunger Games?
Yeah.
You have? I thought, like, I figured, like, you probably only seen like 2 movies, like Rocky and Rocky 5. Rocky 4.
The Godfather too.
The Godfather. Oh, but yeah, dude, it reminds me of that. All right, anyway, we're jumping into today's case. I'm gonna go ahead and play the body camera footage from this case. Obviously, this is a big case breakdown coming from real police officers' perspectives here, and although it is going to be semi-biased because Drew is Sal's father, who is the officer involved in this, we are going to break this down as objectively as possible. If you got some questions in the chats, be sure to let us know. We'll try to answer those. Abby Ellsworth on being a police officer. How are you doing tonight, Abby? Appreciate you being in the live chats. And maybe you can snatch up Drew for your podcast on being a police officer, since he is a still active current SWAT officer. I'm sure he's got plenty of stories for your podcast, Abby, and he would be a great guest. Let's go ahead and play this. Obviously, you're used to case breakdowns. If you don't like the action and the drama, then get the fuck out. Here we go.
Where at?
Let me just go ahead and preface this. Actually, Drew, I'll let you do it before I play this. What was the initial 911 call? Can you set the scene up before we get to this body camera footage? What happened before leading up to this body camera footage?
They receive a call for someone breaking into a shed and a vehicle, and a person may be armed with a gun, and they give a description, and it's right down the street from the police station, so it takes 20 seconds to get there. It's not far at all. And what you don't see is when the first officer arrives on the scene is the Corporal Layton, and he sees this guy come out of the shadows, and he asked him, he says, "Yo, what's going on?" Before you could do that, this guy pulls out a gun and sticks it to his face.
To the cop's face?
Yeah. So on 911, you hear him, he tells him, put the gun down. And he speeds off to get out of harm's way because he's unable to pull out a service weapon. So
it's funny. I wrote about this in my book. It's one of the final chapters. My book comes out this year. But one of the final chapters of my book, which is a story I rarely tell, but I put it in the book. but I got a call for a fire alarm at a house, and it was very confusing. The fire department had already been out 3 times, and they said they weren't going back out for this fire alarm. And so the police department was like, yeah, you got to go take care of this fire alarm. And I was like, why won't the fire department take care of it? And they're like, fire department said they're not going. I said, why? I said, they just said they're not going. And I was like, fair. Okay. So I went, and I'm approaching just as it's a firearm. It was like 8:00 in the morning. It was a Sunday morning. I actually spoke with a family who was getting out of the car, and this old woman was carrying like 8 bags of Bojangles. I stopped 4 or 5 houses down, helped her unload the Bojangles. She said that her family was coming over for pre-church breakfast, and she didn't feel like cooking, so she went out and she's surprising them with Bojangles. So I helped her to the door with all these groceries. It was, just a nice Sunday morning. And I get up to the fire alarm call, and I'm just, yada, 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 just walking up. And I get to the door, and before I can even knock, the door comes open. The guy's got a gun right in my face. And I just put my hands up, and I literally said, fuck. And he said, back up. And I was like, I'm back. And he was like, I'm a goddamn war veteran, Purple Heart, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, dude, all I said was, I got a family and I've got kids. Like, whatever it is that you got going on, it's not worth it to me. And I was like, just let me go. I will fuck right off. And he was like, he just stared at me, and I just kept walking backwards. It was the longest walk of my life. And then I ducked out behind the car. He came inside, grabbed a bottle of liquor, came out in the front yard with the gun. He says, I'm getting in this fucking car. What are you going to do? And I said, bro, I made a deal. I said, if you let me go, I'll fuck off. I was like, I'm getting in my cop car and I'm fucking off. He's like, I'm going to drive away. And I was like, I wish you wouldn't. He's like, you going to chase me? And I said, no, sir, I'm not. And he just kept the gun pointed right at my cop car, got in his car, and he bounced. And it was one of the craziest feelings. I felt like just hopeless, just I didn't know what to do. So now they know that this has happened, right? And this corporal just had a gun in his face. I'm sure he's shitting his pants. And now your son is pulling up on scene with all that information?
So no, the corporal pulls up. My son's right behind him. That with the video you see there is shortened. The AG's office shortened that video. It's actually like it's a 25-second video, not a 6-second video. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it has to fit their narrative. So
yeah.
My son sees this guy come over to the car, and he extends his arm. Well, it's 1:30 in the morning, low light conditions. You can't see the gun at that point. He thinks he's telling the corporal, these guys who were trying to break into my car and my shed ran across the street. So when the corporal takes off, my son's getting out of his car, and he gets back in the car, and he follows, and the corporal stops. He said, what's going on? He said, the guy has a gun. He said, who? My son don't even know. He said, the guy, he's over there. So my son gets out of the car. He's in between the cars, and there's a dude pointing a gun at him. The corporal already told him once, drop the gun. He tells him again, listen, if this guy would have dropped the gun, it would have been one of the best days of all their lives, everyone's life. But this guy didn't want to drop the gun. He just wanted a confrontation with the police. My son lights him up with the flashlight, and illuminates him with the flashlight, sees he's pointing a gun at him.
Which is like so reasonable, right? Like if I shine a flashlight and you've got a gun at me and I have my gun out, like I'm shooting you.
Yeah, he engaged him.
Let's play the video. Let's play the video and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Where?
Right there. Put the gun.
68 helmet. County shots fired. I got him.
Put your arms out. Don't reach. Don't reach.
Where's our head right there?
The county notified Cooper. Male shot. Point a handgun.
I got him. Sorry, else.
Believe Americans are better off than they were.
Lock. He's got a gun on him. He's got a gun on him.
Gun on him. Point at us. Right there. Right there.
Start EMT. Start EMS. Start EMS. Start south.
Use that glove. Use that glove.
South.
Now, one of the things I want to mention and point out in this video, one thing we never do here on this channel is Monday Morning Quarterback anybody, but I like to articulate what is going on. And there is a shock factor when something like this happens. And kind of contrary to what most people think, when you walk up on somebody, whether you shot them or not, and you walk up on them and you see them bleeding out of holes, there is a little bit of tunnel vision that filters in, and it's a shock. It's literally a shock factor is what I call it. It's the shock factor. I've talked to my rookies about this all the time, that it's normal. You're going to see it and you're just going to stare at it. And it's going to feel like 25 seconds, but in reality, it was probably 2 seconds. And you're going to stare at it until somebody is like, hey, kind of get you snapped out of it. Hey, go get the medic bag, or hey, get this. So when you see these guys kind of walking up and it looks like they're just kind of like not doing anything, they're processing, which is a natural human occurrence that would happen to anybody, whether you shot them or didn't shot them. If you walked up to a car wreck and you saw a bone sticking out of somebody's arm, your instinct very rarely is going to be like, all right, let's get him out of the car. At first, you're going to go, right, okay, let me get this seatbelt on. Like, there's a shock factor that you have to deal with. And I think it's very interesting that in this video, I'm going to play it back really quick, is you kind of see that take place right around here. This is where they kind of walk up, and it takes them a minute. They're hyper focused on what they're seing.
Right there, right there.
It's this dead spot right here where they're just kind of like, and then everybody starts to work. You know, it's kind of just a bizarre thing, but it's something I like to point out, especially to the civilians out there that haven't been through it. But now you see everybody's going to work. Right to the car, right to the medic bag.
I don't know. The guy came out, pointed a gun.
And guys, in this scenario, in a situation like this, you don't want to be getting out that med bag. Like Sal does not want to be getting out a med bag. What he wants to do is go throw up. You know, am I right, Drew? Like, you know, but you know, you have to, right?
Yeah, your adrenaline calms down. You know, you're running on adrenaline. You know,
it's crazy.
And the job wasn't over yet. The other officers, you know, that's one person. They're looking for possibly 2 more people. So they go forward and they're trying to secure the house now, and they're looking for possibly other armed suspects, because they believe this guy's one of the armed suspects, possibly someone with a gun. And they're securing the property now.
Right. So this call goes out that there's 3 subjects, right, breaking into a shed, at least one being completely armed. I want to play back and show you how fast this happens.
Where at?
Right there.
Where?
Did you hear that? He's got a handgun on him. Where? Right there. Where? And he turns around. Oh shit. You know what I'm saying? Let me play that again. Like, really kind of focus. If you're not watching it in context, you're like, wow, this cop was trigger happy and he just got out of the car blasting. But no, you can hear it. You can hear.
Where at?
Right there.
He's got a handgun on him right there.
Where?
Right there.
Now that right there, like, that to me is a kind of like a symbol of, like, imagine, if you will, for a moment, walking through a field. Maybe you're walking out to a playground and your wife says, honey, stop. What? There's a snake. Where? Right there. If your wife said right there, what would you do? You would probably be like, oh, you would get that happy feet. Where? That's no different for this officer. Right there. Where? And then you see this gun pointed at you. It's like the snake reared up. I'm telling you, psychologically, this is what happens when you hear another cop go, there's a man with a gun. Where? Right there. All of a sudden, every single hair on your neck is going to stand straight up. It is going to be like a fucking snake is in the grass. And feel how you feel about a snake being in the grass, a copperhead or a rattlesnake, whatever it is. And wherever you live, they probably don't even have snakes up in Philadelphia, but down south we have a lot of them. But you know that feeling. That's exactly what the feeling of this officer is at this moment. And then he looks out and he sees the snake. Play it out.
Where at?
Right there.
Where?
Right there. Put the gun.
And it happens that fast. Now, for me, I saw this right off the bat before I even knew we were going to have Drew on today. I saw this. My buddy sent it to me and he said, hey, I want you to watch this call me right back and tell me what your opinion is on it, and then I will kind of go from there. And I looked at it and I called him right back and I said 100% justified. And he was like, really? You think he's 100% justified? I said 100%. I was like, if somebody says the bad guy's right there and he has a gun and I turn around and there's a gun, I'm blasting the dude all day long. Why? What's up? And they were like, dude, this guy went to jail. And he's like, good. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page because I want to get this guy's dad on, his father on. And I was like, oh, damn. So now walk me through it, Drew, because I'm guessing the reason why they had you come on today was because this was not a justified shoot at first.
No, it was justified. It was justified. Okay. And he was back to work for 2 years. And he was frivolously indicted 2 years later under a different AG.
So he would. Oh, okay. Hang on. So this happened in September of 2021.
Yes.
He gets cleared.
He gets cleared.
He gets cleared. He goes back to work from 2021 to 2023.
Yes. Gets promoted. Officer of the year again.
What?
You know, everything. Yep. And
then he gets indicted with a new. I don't know what was the new indictment for.
They said it was manslaughter, reckless manslaughter. I said reckless manslaughter. It's deadly force on deadly force. What was reckless about the job? And the charge is an overcharge. It doesn't even fit. You know, that's the only charge they could hit him with. And so it's a joke. It's laughable. You know, it's
like they said, wait a minute, where there's a really good cop who's gotten Officer of the Year multiple times and he shot somebody. Oh yeah, let's get that guy fucking gone.
Let's get the workers, you know, and everybody else will fall in the place.
Well, and listen, I hear it all across the country that the departments want the workers to go away. They want the complainers, the no-gooders. They want them to stick around. They don't want the proactive cops who want to that want to actually keep you safe at night. They want to go out there and hunt the wolf before the wolf gets into the sheep's pen. As cheesy as that sounds, they don't want those cops anymore. You know what I mean? Right. They don't want the cop that wakes up at 2 that gets started at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? You know the cop, right? That's like, hey, midnight's over. Like now it's time for me to work. You know, the cop that hasn't done shit from 6 to 6 because, you know, well, that's when I do my paperwork. 6 to 6, I get a little workout in, eat, you know, play around on the internet. And then as soon as midnight hits, I'm ready to go. Right. I don't want to fuck with anybody before midnight because I know that my chances of catching the real monster are after midnight. They don't want that kind of policing anymore. Is it like that in Philadelphia?
Philly, you still have the people still out there doing the job the best they could. I think it's like that all over right now. But the pendulum hopefully is going to swing back, you know.
Right. Yeah, they've been saying the pendulum's going to swing now for like 10 years. It hasn't really swung. So now let's talk about I want to do an ad read real quick, and then this story has an insane twist to it. We haven't even got to the insane twist, and I'm not being hyperbolic. This is an insane twist of the story. There's a little bit more to the story that we haven't mentioned yet. Going to talk about it now. But first, let me talk about GhostBed. Ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Sleep so good it's scary. These are beds made in the good old USA. GhostBed is one of the longest surviving, still in production, American-made bed companies in the country. They are absolutely 100% supporters of police, of military veterans. They have been a part of my podcast journey since about 2019, 2020. They were with me when I was on Drinking Bros Network, and they followed me over to my brand new network, and they support Anti-Hero Podcast, Failure to Stop Podcast. They pay all of our producers. I cannot talk highly enough about the type of people GhostBed are. To me, it's not even a bed company. It's just a group of people. They had me come down to Fort Lauderdale from North Carolina to go see the facility. Absolutely fantastic. And the whole family works there. Son was working in managing community relations. The wife was in development. She was working on a pillowcase for women with curly hair. I got to meet just another employee, and his son works there as well. And it was just such a family-oriented company. You guys know I obsess and I rave over my ghost bed and my ghost bed pillow. Tonight, I will be leaving shortly after this show to Myrtle Beach for the Myrtle Beach Skateboard Am, the Pro Am contest in Myrtle Beach. My kids will be competing in it. I am taking my ghost bed pillow as always. I have the travel ghost bed pillow. If I do a jujitsu competition or I do a good hard workout, I have the massage topper, the ghost bed massage topper. Right now, if you go to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack, you can get 50% off site wide. Guys, bring that back up for me one more time. Show them the site there, Josh. We're talking about the mattress with the adjustable base. We're talking about the pillows. We're talking about the sheets, the pillowcases. Keep going. Scroll up a little bit. I don't have that. Keep going up. No, I mean, I'm sorry, down. I'm talking about that little neck massager. What was that? What the fuck? The neck pillow for like flying? Are you fucking kidding me?
This looks new. I don't think we've seen it before.
Yo, they haven't fucking sent me that. Well, I know who's getting a phone call after today's show. Daddy wants a neck massager. As much as I fly and I talk about needing my pillow and they have one of these and I didn't even know about it. Oh, it says new in stock. Is that why? Bro, they always call me with this stuff. Like they just sent me a massage. Listen, sorry, I don't mean to rant and rave over here. No, wait, keep going down. You get 2 free pillows? 2 luxury pillows free? Oh, with an order over $1,000? Dude, those pillows. I'm telling you what, if you're a peasant and you can't afford a new bed, or a $69 neck massager, the pillows from Ghost Bed are life changers. I mean, they have that cooling technology in them, so you never have to flip them over. Yeah, bring up that little picture of the memory foam pillow with the ghost foam in it. Yeah, right there. Bring that up. Can you blow that up? Oh, you can't. It won't blow it up. Right now, you can get that pillow for $83. Dude, this pillow will last you the rest of your life. It is absolutely an insane pillow. Yeah, there you go. See all that? It's got the ghost ice cover, the inner mesh cover, the face change material, the support core. Dude, you get the little ghost bed pillowcase to go over it. It's like silky smooth. Oh my gosh. I'm going to go to sleep right now. Head over to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack and get you a sleep so good it's scary. We also got Factor Meals at factormeals.com. Look, if you're trying to lose weight for the holiday season, head over to Factor Meals, meal planning to the next level. So before you go out and, you go to the grocery store and you burn all that gas going to the grocery store, and then you got your kids, your monstrous children throwing shit into your cart that you don't need, and you get to the checkout line and you're $35 past your budget that you budgeted because you got all your kids, and you I don't know, maybe you're like me and you're like, oh, that looks tasty, and oh, I didn't know I need Gatorade powder, and watermelons are on sale, and you come out with a bunch of, listen, stop with all that. Go to factormeals.com, choose from their hundreds of menu items. They get delivered straight to your door, fresh, not frozen, but fresh, right to your door. Throw them in a microwave. Listen, you want to take them to work with you? You put them in that little peasant first responder microwave that you got at the precinct. It'll still heat these things up in 2 minutes because they're not frozen. You can do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I do the breakfast shakes and I do the lunches. I get my delivery every Tuesday, and I do a couple of dinners, but I don't eat the dinners. The dinners are for my kids when we have emergencies. I particularly like the protein heavy, 50 grams plus a protein each meal. You can get calorie conscious. You can get vegan, vegetarian. You can do all that so that you no longer have to do meal planning. You don't have to go and find your Rubbermaid dishes, your Pyrex, your Pytex dishes, all of that out the window. You just go in your refrigerator. It's color-coded, stacked on top of each other. Grab that bacon ranch chicken with, whatever, fucking broccoli and cheese, protein heavy, throw it in 2 minutes later, and you're ready to rock and roll. You in Philly, you'd probably enjoy the pasta ones. They got a chicken marsala that is off of the, I don't know, how do you guys say in Italian? Really good. I don't know. But you guys will like it. Head over to factormeals.com. Use the promo code Wolfpack50, get you 50% off. All right. Here's the crazy part of the story. I told you the story gets crazier, and it does. I told you there's a crazy twist and turn. Here's the twist and turn. There was never 3 subjects. And there was never 3 subjects, and there was never a gun. Well, there was a gun, but it wasn't a real gun. This whole story was because of the man who called was suffering from some kind of mental illness, calls 911, makes the whole story up. and comes outside with a fake firearm.
Well, it wasn't just mental illness. He was high on cocaine and meth too. He had a lot of drugs in his system.
Oh, well, they didn't left that out of the article. They didn't put that in the article.
Yeah, gee, it don't fit the narrative. That's why.
Wow.
High levels of cocaine and meth in his system as well as other drugs.
And so they indicted your son on this.
And they indicted him.
2 years later. What happened?
Indictment.
What happened with the indictment?
I get a phone call from our brother-in-law who's also in law enforcement. It says, "Yo, you ain't gonna believe it. They just indicted Sal." I was like, "What? What do you mean he indicted? On what?" He goes, "Dude, bullshit." So, and they said you have 2 hours to get him to Camden County Jail. I said 2 hours. He don't even know. My son don't even know. He's living life like, everything's good, And then we have to call him, and it was just went downhill from there, And we took him over to jail. And a matter of fact, the investigators on the shooting team, because in New Jersey, when you're involved in a shooting, it's a separate entity. So there's no bias. So they used the New Jersey State Trooper shooting team, which is overseen by the AG's office. And they cleared it because there's nothing wrong here with the shooting.
Right.
But these guys had to take him to the jail. And some of them refused to walk him in because he said, "This is all politics.
Yeah.
There's nothing here," So, and he was in jail. And when he was in there, in New Jersey, it's either in jail or you're out. There's no bail no more. And they slapped my son with like 3 detainers to keep him in there for 180 days. I said, "You don't even do that to criminals." This is a police officer.
Drew, we had another officer on here, Yusuf, who was charged very similarly with murder. His was murder, but it was a justified shooting, but they went and they charged him. And he'd never been in trouble in his life. He'd been a police officer, I think at the time, 11 years, no disciplinary action, gets in a justified shooting, or at least arguably justified, right? You know what I mean? Maybe in the wash, maybe a jury didn't like it, which they did. He got cleared. But at the time, it was definitely it definitely wasn't clear whether this was a justified shooting or not, but it definitely was not malicious. And they no-bonded him as well for over 3 months and kept him in solitary confinement and put him on suicide watch for no reason, butt naked for over 3 weeks, butt naked in solitary confinement, only for a jury of his peers to find him completely innocent and less than 2 hours of deliberation.
Yeah, you'll never get the juries of your peers. He's a police officer. Is he have
true.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Juries of your peers is a joke.
Well, he was cleared. So, luckily the jury, like that's how good the shooting was, is that a jury in less than 2 hours was like, "Oh, this guy is good." But the fact is that they weaponize the justice system against police officers. And here's my argument to this. If the rule is going to be that cops are held to a higher standard, and what I mean by that is, if you are going to pull a cop over for speeding and the ticket's going to be doubled, then you need to let cops know that that's the case before they become cops. It's just fair. And so, I know it's not a written rule, but it's every time a police officer gets wrapped up in a shooting, if a thug piece of shit gets in a shooting, there's always a bond, and they almost always bond out. How many scumbags have you dealt with that bonded out the same night?
Oh, yeah.
But if a cop gets arrested, there's a no bond, then there either needs to be a precedent that we're all aware of, or you need to stop fucking doing it. But it's crazy that all over the country, they are weaponizing the DOJ against cops. And the crazy thing is all these cops are being cleared. And it's not from corruption.
In my son's case, and then phone calls were made and, he was able to get out. But it's just laughable. It's sad, really, and I'm not here to speak ill will about the guy who was killed. He had issues, and he failed himself. Yeah,
well, his family failed him. His parents failed him. You know what I mean?
Well, he's an
and
adult.
That's okay. Right.
He's an adult. This guy. I mean, he was in and out of rehabs. You know, he had suicidal ideations for many, many, many years.
Right.
That, you know, he tried to do different things. I mean, we have his family statements, his ex-wife statements, and they don't blame my son at all, you know?
Right.
But
I mean, I'm telling you, I got
part,
5 kids. The chances of one of my kids growing up to be a piece of shit is probably pretty high. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you to this day, if one of my children gets involved in an officer-involved shooting, I will take responsibility for that. I have failed that child. I missed the mark. I miss getting on that child's level. You know, I wake up every day to my 5 children. I wake up every single day, and I ask myself every single morning. I go through the list in my head of what do I need to do with which child today to get on their level. Because I don't want to have middle child syndromes. I don't want to have baby child syndromes. You know, I don't want my kids to grow up. And I want to make sure that I give it my 100% best to meet my kids on the level that they need to be met on, so that I don't have kids that grow up to be addicts or be, you know, now listen, if it happens, it happens, but at least I'll go to bed knowing I literally did everything I could. And a lot of these cases, though, I don't feel like the families did everything that they could. As a child, there's always a reason why they get to this point. You know, I don't know if it's, you know, bad family problems or family dynamics or, you know, divorces or daddy didn't spend enough time, mommy didn't spend. I don't know the answer, but it's a group effort when you get to this point in life where you're so jacked up on meth, so jacked up on cocaine. Do you think this was a suicide by cop?
I do. Absolutely. It's a fictitious call. You know, the guys, I mean, we find out, you know, after the indictment, which is 2 years later, all this information about this guy, you know? So the guy was prohibited from having any firearms at all due to prior police, you know, activity at his house a year prior to this. You know, crisis was always involved, the crisis center, and no one knows that. The house was flagged, but the officers didn't know that. Didn't have any mobile terminals in their car to let them know that. The dispatch never let them know that. And people think the 911 call is mirrored with the police, and it's not.
No,
I mean,
we don't hear that. We just
mirrored
get
at all.
notes. We just get notes. And listen, when you're trying to drive at 1:30 in the morning, and, you know, so one, nobody's addresses are 100% correct ever. As in, like, mailboxes are supposed to have the addresses on them so the fire department can see them, or the house is supposed to have, like, that doesn't happen. Like, you might have house number 124 clearly marked, and then you might go 2 or 3 houses where you can't see the address. Finding addresses as a cop is actually a lot harder, and I don't think anybody gives it enough credit. That, you know, finding an address, especially one that you've never been to before, you think about how many times a pizza guy might pass your, like, we're not, it's not like we're not any smarter than a pizza guy. You know what I'm saying? Pizza guys, listen, I had a professor in school who moonlighted as a pizza guy. So, you know, and I'm sure he missed addresses. So you're driving down the road, you're looking for the suspect, because the suspects usually aren't going to be at the address, right? If you've got guys breaking in at, you know, address 124, chances are they're probably at address 110 by now because they fled the scene. So now you're trying to look for the subject, look for the address, listen to the radio. Oh, and by the way, dispatch is kind of giving you updated notes that you may or may not see on your computer, depending where you're at in your kind of checks and balances. I like to say it's like a quarterback, right? Where he drops back, and first thing he does is he looks at receiver number 1, then he checks receiver number 2, and then he checks the safety. You know, you have these checks and balances. So if you've missed one, you know, you're not coming back to it. And I think a lot of times you miss the dispatcher's notes because you're either head out of the window trying to look for the suspect, or you're running a plate in front of you, or you're talking on the radio, or you're simply just looking for addresses. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and what you don't see in the shooting, you see him when he's pointing the gun at my son. My son engages him. The guy goes down to the ground, still pointing the gun at him. My son, I sees the gun in his hand. He engages him again. He illuminates him with his flashlight. As he's moving closer, even though the guy's shot, he's on the ground, he's still aggressively reaching out for this gun. And my son tells him, stop reaching, you know?
Yeah.
So, and inside the house, he had a 120-pound Rottweiler. So there's no one. The guy was just either hallucinating or whatever it may have been. You know,
The fact
in
that he
his
was holding
car,
onto the fake gun sounds
they
a lot
couldn't
like.
even, they couldn't even steal the car if there was anyone there because he had a machine in there where he had to blow into because he's been locked up for DUI so many times and his car wouldn't start if you were intoxicated. So they couldn't even take that car. You know what I mean? Probably, you know. So
What a mess. And the crazy thing is that, you know, they've weaponized. Was your son a part of the union at the time of the shooting?
yes, PBA. He's
Do you think that, you think that's, do you think he was a target of this AG because he was a union leader or officer of the year? I mean, I mean, it's just it's like, I wonder what goes through the minds where they just wake up and you're like, you know what? You know, hey, honey, can you pass me the syrup? Yeah, honey, what do you got going on today? You know what? There's this guy named Sal. I'm about to fuck him over. You know what I mean? There's got to be a reason why. There's got to be a like, you know.
Well, we're still waiting
hey,
for it. Well, you know, you have these progressive AGs get in here and DAs and stuff, and they do what they want to do to appease their people. And they're going to say, hey, yeah, well, you know what? We indicted these cops, but the judge or the jury let them go. We did our part. You know, they got their special interest groups that they want to appease. You know, and if you're a worker, that's where they want to go. They want to go after all these people. You know, they want socialism or whatever they want. You know, they just don't want stability in the community anymore.
Well, I mean, that's kind of been the whole plan from George Soros. And now you saw Alex Soros, who's even crazier than George Soros. If you head over to FAWKES News on YouTube, I just had Jonathan Emord on, who is America's last constitutional litigator who went up against the FCC in the 80s and 90s and won on some First Amendment issues against the FCC. If you guys haven't been paying attention, George Soros is buying up 200 radio stations, and a lot of them are big giant conservative news networks like Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, big names that George Soros is buying up. And George Soros has said like that you know, kind of destabilizing governments is what he's all about. And now Alex Soros, who is like way more radical than George Soros, just met in Pennsylvania with Tim Walz in private, which goes to show you that just it's like there is this agenda, this one world government, this globalistic idea where they want chaos in your cities. That's where the defund the police movement comes to play. We know that there wasn't that many people that wanted to defund the police. These were George Soros backed groups that were taken to the streets and committing Antifa style violence. They don't care about your city. They don't care about your rights. They don't care about your car or your house that's being squatted in by these folks. All they care about is destabilizing the government so that they can, you know, they can turn us out to be like Venezuela's going through right now. And if you don't think that we're close to that, give it 10 years. And you're going to realize that all of the work that you didn't put in now, you're going to be way behind the curve. And that's why I started FAWKES News, because it's news that fucking matters. It's news that matters for guys like Drew, whose son Sal is who's being persecuted by a weaponized Department of Justice. And I'm not saying Trump is the savior, and I'm not trying to be political here, but what I'm telling you right now is that there is a war going on right now against good and evil, and it's big government versus you. It's not right and left. It's not Republican. And Trump is just somebody who just happens not to be part of the big government right now. So I want you to take the whole Trump thing out of it. You don't have to be a Trump fan. I'm not telling you to be a Trump fan. But what I am telling you is you have to be aware of a Department of Justice that has been weaponized, a FCC that is being weaponized. Right now, George Soros is buying 200 radio stations, and more than 25% of the funds of the $400 million he's using to pay for that station come from outside sources. And the FCC, who is supposed to take 6 months to a year to investigate each one of these, because you cannot have 25% foreign ownership of radio networks here in the United States, because imagine what that would lead to. Imagine if China or Russia owned more than 25% of your radio stations. But George Soros, who is a huge fan of socialism, of the Chinese and the Russian way of living, is now pushing through. Next week, he will close on this deal. The FCC bypassed the commissions. They bypassed the vote. They are now paving the way, allowing him without the process that was put in place by the government, because the Harris and Biden administration is allowing this to happen. And next week, George Soros will be owning 200 major news radio stations, most of them being very large anti-communist, anti-socialist, Hispanic, and American conservative radio networks. And it's not made mainstream media. And he closes on the deal next week, 40 days before an election. And if you don't think that there's a war going on, if that doesn't prove it to you, and you go and watch that episode, a year or two ago, a conservative group tried to buy a group of radio stations without foreign money. And the left said you cannot buy that radio station because it would interfere with the election. But George Soros is allowed to backdoor that whole process. And so there is an overt war against freedom right now. And it's AGs like this who know that they know it's wrong to go after an officer of the year who is completely cleared and completely justified in a shooting. But because he's officer of the year, because he's heavily involved in his union, because he's not walking down the hallway with one finger over his mouth and two fingers up in the air like he has been indoctrinated to do, they're going to go after him. And they're going to make an example that, hey, if you go out there and you do your job and you do it correctly as a police officer, we're not going to fucking tolerate it. And that should scare the hell out of all of you. And the only way that you can fight back on that right now is voting in the next 45 days. That's really all we have right now, guys. Anybody that is pro in any way, shape, or form defunding the police or destabilizing your cities. What just happened in Philly? Wasn't there just a big car takeover in Philly, like in the last night or two? Was that in Philly? Josh, was that in Philly?
Yeah, last over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Police officers were injured. They just ransacked a car. Anybody that's for tolerating that, and any DA or AG or anybody that's not prosecuting those people or giving them bond, you should pay attention to who they affiliate with and who they're backed by. I guarantee you those are George Soros backed elected officials. I would almost be willing to bet my next paycheck on it. Somebody can fact check me in the comment sections if you want. Yeah, go ahead. Is that a clip or is that just a picture?
Just a picture.
It was just a massive street takeover in Philadelphia, and nobody's being nobody's being held accountable for this. And a lot of these are juveniles, and the crimes aren't even being reported as crimes. We just had the Department of Justice put out the crime stats and how flawed they were, or how many holes the FBI's crime stats had, because they didn't even send the survey to over half of the agencies in the United States. So head over to FAWKES News and get caught up on that, because so many officers, Drew, say, I don't do politics. I don't like to do politics. I don't get political. Stop being a fucking coward. Stop it with the I don't do politics. It's not fucking time to do the politics now. If you're wearing one of those like Grunt Life fucking t-shirts, if you're wearing one of those little t-shirts with the American flag on the front of it, if you're wearing one of these, Guns and Whiskeys t-shirts, then you better fucking own up to the don't be a poser. You better be into politics right now, because there's a lot more at stake right now than maybe has ever been in history, or at least in your history, your individual history. This is one of the bigger moments in our time where First Amendment rights are being swept away, where they have weaponized the DOJ and they are taking away the rights of conservative media platforms like Glenn Beck, like Sean Hannity, like Project Veritas. It's complete insanity, guys. And I'm sorry to get worked up, but we're getting closer to the election day. And it blows my mind how many people are just, you're not into politics because you don't want to understand it, or you're too fucking lazy to do it. Get in your cop car and start paying attention. And I'm not talking about mainstream media. You need to be finding those podcast platforms that are giving you real life information that minus the distractions. And you can do left and right. Head over to Breaking Points, or head over to Pop Culture Crisis, or Timcast IRL, or FAWKES News, or Rubin Report, or Don Bongino. Any kind of outside mainstream media source that you can find on the podcast level. Russell Brand is another good one out there. It kind of gives you both sides of the story there. But you got to get educated, guys, because, Drew, you've lived it. your child, I'm sure you would have rather lived this than your child. It's got to be far worse than your child having to go through this and you're not. Correct?
I don't know how many years it took off our lives. It's just, when you're involved in the criminal justice system, everything slows down and stops. You go to court, continued. Oh, they need another continuance. We've been going through this since May of last year, since the indictment. It's been a year and a half, and nothing has happened.
Teresa Flober in the chat.
We have a use of force expert, and they can't find anybody to dispute any of the facts of the case. They can't find an expert to dispute that.
How is he now?
He has some, it's tough. No pay. He has no pay. He's married. He has a daughter. He can't find work because he has a manslaughter charge on him. So when they run,
was he found guilty?
No, he's not guilty at all. But he has a charge on him. So when they run a background check on you, it comes up.
Did you say he's on house arrest?
He's not on house arrest, but they took all his guns away. He can't leave the state of New Jersey, and he can't associate with his police family, meaning all the people he worked with.
Unbelievable. So
you don't even do that to criminals.
Did he have a jury?
Nothing. We're still we asked for a jury. We asked for a trial date. They said we're not giving it to you. We're not there yet. We're not giving it to you.
And
every time we go back to court, it gets continued because they can't find anybody since June to dispute the use of force from our expert.
Wow, that is.
Listen, no laws were broken. No policies.
I mean, this is a pretty clear-cut case. Drew, we've covered so many. I've been doing this for 4 years now, covering cases. I mean, this is, to me, there's no argument here. Like, to me, that I don't even you couldn't even. I don't even see the argument here. This is beyond unreasonable. I mean, if you did a no shoot scenario with 50 officers, I always say this, a lot of the shootings we cover on here, it's usually 50-50. I would say if you did a no shoot scenario on this particular incident, 25 officers would shoot 25. On this one, I think all 50 shoot, unless you're fucking just too scared to pull the trigger. But this is like one of those ones where I'm like, bro, I mean, every motherfucker that gets out of the car is probably pulling the trigger on this one.
Yeah, I wish this guy would have just dropped the gun, left the gun in the house, drop the gun, just follow commands, do what you're supposed to do. But this guy, he didn't want to do that. He had his own plan already that no one knew about, and he wanted a confrontation with the police. That's it. Doesn't matter. He wasn't never going to drop the gun. What you don't see in the beginning, if you play the body camera footage, he's on the phone with 911. When he sticks the gun to the corporal's head, and the corporal says, he hears it through 911, put the gun down, and he speeds off. And then when you pick it up, when my son's getting out of the car, that's the second time he tells him, drop the gun. Guy's standing there with the gun still,
Yeah.
Well, the AG has a policy, even though someone gets indicted, they don't have to follow through with the indictment due to a lack of probable cause, which is in this case. But they just follow through with it, and they just indict you anyway because they want to appease their special interest groups.
Is there any way that we can help? Is there any funds, or is there any GoFundMe's out there for the family? How do
we have a gift and go. I could send it to you.
Gift and go.
Gift and go.
Josh, if you'll look up that gift and go and then post it up here before I get out of here, if you can do that in the next 2 minutes, I'd appreciate that. Gift and go. Or Barbara, it looks like she's in the chats. Barbara, if you'll just put a link in the chats for us real fast, we'll post it up here. And listen, if you have it in your hearts, if you have an extra, listen, I know times are tough. I never ask you guys for money anymore. I don't ask you guys to join our Patreon, which is less than a cup of coffee a month. I don't know, because times are tough, guys. And I don't want first responders. I'm doing just fine. Ghost Bed treats us very well. Factor Meals treats us very well, which is why I want you guys to just support them so they'll keep supporting us. But I rarely ask you guys for money or to help out. So but in this case, if you have $3, if you have $4, you have $5, and you want to donate it, you don't want to go through the trouble, leave a super chat right here, right now, right for Sal on the super chat, and we will go over to Give Send Go, and we will put it over there at Give Send Go. Or if you don't trust me, you can go to Give Send Go right now. It's www.givesendgo.com/support for Corporal Oldrati. Head over to YouTube and you can see it. It's OLDRATI. If you're sitting in your cop car, rewind that several times. But that is Give Send Go. Drop $5 in there. Drop $20 in there. Imagine if this was your son, if this was your child, married, trying to do the right thing, trying to survive, and now he, is having to live at home, can't find a job, has been charged with manslaughter. You cannot fathom what that must be like for your morale, to look at your children and know that you're not being able to support them mentally. That is so taxing. I've had my gun and badge taken away when somebody died in my back seat, and though it was cleared up in 3 or 4 weeks, I remember in that 3 weeks being hopeless and being afraid and being scared, and this is on a level times 10 of that Sal's going through right now. So if you have it in your heart to drop a couple of dollars, please go to givesendgo.com/support for CPLOLDRATI. And that's for the audio listeners. I know you guys on YouTube are like, shut the fuck up, I can see it, you don't have to spell it out, I'm not a fucking kindergartner. 99% of the people listen to this and they don't watch it, so it's for them assholes. Bosco Autry leaving 5 bones. That's from Forever Road Podcast. As much love to brother Odrati. So we'll make sure that we add that $5 to the Give Send Go this month. And anybody else that wants to do that on this show or the next show, you can do exactly what Bosco did there, or you can just go to the site yourself and knock it out. Drew, we appreciate your service. What I think we need to do is we got a live show in Orlando. We do these live shows all over the country. We've done them in North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Texas. And what we do is we bring in usually some kind of celebrities. Like we've got Eddie Gallagher, the Navy SEAL, Kyle Rittenhouse coming to this next one. We've had Ken Shamrock. We've done live shows with Chuck Liddell, Pat Militech, and lots of other guys. So what I think we need to do is one in Philly. And do you have a good bar in Philly? What we do is we come in that night. We have a stand-up comedy show, which is led by other police officers. We do a comedy show. Then we do a live podcast where we might bring you up, bring some other people up in front of the whole bar. We get everybody buying each other drinks. It's to build morale. And then we also kind of raise funds for, things like Sal's problem and things like that. If you'll find us a bar that's police and first responder friendly, we would love to take it over for an event this weekend and maybe have you on live in front of an entire bar. And, just trading patches, doing a comedy show, 100% free for your guys. That's something you guys would like in Philly?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely.
You seem like a real funny guy, Sal. We'll get you on stage for the stand-up comedy part. You look like the kind of guy that it's got fucking 1,000 jokes. I'm just kidding. You look like the type of guy that's like, you better pay your fucking dues. You want to get in here and do a comedy show, you better pay your dues.
Yeah.
Teresa Flobert says $7. I'm so sorry he is being witch hunted, Sal. So she's dropped $7. We appreciate it. Teresa, thank you guys so much. Falcon Raider and Find Out says this guy literally is the Godfather. He does look like the God, but maybe we'll make him the Wolfpack Godfather. He'll be the enforcer. Just giving it just another minute in case somebody else wanted a super chat. A couple of dollars here. Does Sal have an Instagram or social media? We can tag him in. No. Do you?
He's not on it, social media at all. No.
You don't have one. It's not like @Godfather Drew. All right, hey man, we really appreciate you. We appreciate the time that you took. From all of us here over at the Wolfpack, man. We're sorry for what's going on to our brother Sal in New Jersey, man. Truly our prayers do go out to him. And I know people are like, man, fucking save your prayers. But I believe that prayer does go a long way. And so, if you don't have it in your pockets to donate the dollars, there is power in prayer. So take a moment out of your day and lift up a prayer to Sal and Sal's family. It's so tough. And I hope that Sal is mentally as strong. If there's anything we can pass on to Sal, we would say, hey, look, man, you signed up to be a warrior, and this is a part of that warrior journey. And so you can either be defeated by this, or you can just stay with that warrior mindset, the same warrior mindset that you had that night to stay alive. When a gun was pointed in your face, you have that same obligation and that same duty to continue that on, to be brave in front of your family and to not break down. It is your duty. It is your obligation to bury those emotions, to bury that fear somewhere deep inside of you, and go on day to day as the warrior that you are. And don't be afraid. Everything happens for a reason. And brother, I promise you that we're all here. We've been here through the Holtzclaw incident. We were here with Ben Darby, who he was just freed. Ben Darby with Sergeant Mattingly. You will always have us in your back pocket. And so we're going to follow your case, and we're going to make sure that however we can advocate for you. We are going to line up a live show in Philly for Sal. We're going to line that up this winter, Josh. And so Philadelphia, we're going to do a live comedy show. We'll have all the podcast guys out there. We'll start lining up some special guests. And Drew, you just find us a bar to take over, and we'll just see how many guys we can get together to let Sal know that we're all there for them. From myself, from Josh, and everybody else at the Failure to Stop and the Fox Media Network, Drew, thanks for coming on today, brother. Any last words? Anytime. And please be around for updates, and let's put something on the books, maybe for maybe either for early December or maybe for January or February. Let's put something together in Philadelphia, and let's get a live show out there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll build a lot of morale. But Sal can't cross state lines, can he?
He can't right now. No, he's got to stay in New Jersey. So if
Maybe
worse comes
we
worse,
do it.
might have to
Maybe we
do it in New Jersey.
Well, yeah, I was wanting to do it across state line so we didn't have to worry about Jersey politics. But if he can't leave Jersey, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it up in Jersey, which I'm sure is not too far from you.
Let me work on it a little bit. See what
work on it. We'll see what we got, and we'll try to pull that off this winter. And we'll get a big live show, and we'll have a good time with it. But Drew, thank you guys so much. For everybody down in Florida, surviving this hurricane, good luck. Go over to FAWKES News and subscribe to that new YouTube channel. It's brand new. Head over to Anti-Hero Podcast. Leave them a 5-star rating or review. Head over to 2 Cops 1 Donut Podcast. Subscribe. Give them a 2-star. Give them a 5-star rating review. New York's finest unfiltered podcast, also on the network. And then, of course, 2 Cops 1 Donut Shop. All of the podcasts that are on the network, which you're going to see a lot more of the Fox Media Network rolling out here as we've gone through this rebranding. Make sure you check out Forever Road Podcast, One More and I'm Out of Here podcast on being a police officer, and all the other shows that support law enforcement. From myself, everybody here, we'll see you guys on the next one. Guns up. Giddy up.
Thank you.